والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحابته أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم وقل رب زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أغنى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا وإن تلموا أو تعرضوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So here again, the most magnanimous and all-comprehensive principle for the establishment of universal justice. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, again, O you people of belief. And of course, every time that this statement is made, this is a call to the people of Iman, and therefore only the people of Iman are going to be able to respond effectively and understand what is being called to. And of course, it's extremely important and a very fundamental tenet always when we find this nida, as it's called, the call, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O the people of Iman, O the people who have believed. Kunu qawwamina bil qist, be those who stand up and rigorously support justice. So he doesn't just say aqsitu, do justice. Be those who continuously, not once or twice, but in all situations, in all circumstances. And also, since it's Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, it means all the people of Iman. It doesn't mean just the judge and the police force and the president, and which generally that doesn't happen. But moreover, the hakim and mahkum, the people who are in authority and the people who are placed under their authority. Everybody. As we mentioned so many times, that the legislation of Islam is unique. It doesn't work like, you don't just pass laws and expect people's behavior to change. It doesn't happen. Hearts have to be cultivated, minds have to be cultivated. The presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to be foremost in front of people's eyes, in their minds, in their hearts. The sense of accountability on the day of Qiyamah. You might get away with murder here in the world, but you don't get away with a particle of injustice in the hereafter. So when that consciousness comes into the people, whether they're the rulers or the ruled, whether they're the employees or the employee, whether they're the rich or the poor, whether they're the influential or those who have no voice, everybody is going to do their part. And not only they're going to be just in their own personal activities, but qawwamina bil qist infers that not only I need to be just, but I need to be an establisher of justice wherever I can in my realm of influence, in my realm of impact. And so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, qawwamina bil qist shuhada lillah, standing up and supporting and rigorously enforcing on oneself and on others as far as possible justice, shuhada lillah, witnesses for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because justice also, it requires from time to time to bear witness. And this is also another very important tenet. And the witnesses are going to have to be, first of all, present. So, وَلَا يَأْبَ الشُّهَدَاءَ إِذَا مَا دُعُوا. And a person who is required for giving witness, to establish justice, he should not, run away from it. He needs to, stand up for this duty. And at the same time, he has to be 100% truthful. So for the sake of Allah, is standing up for that. And this ayat also, we're going to see in Surah Ma'idah, there's a very similar ayat. However, rather than qawwamina bil qist shuhada lillah, there it's qawwamina lillah shuhada bil qist. So standing up, with justice, witnessing for Allah. And in Ma'idah, standing up for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and witnessing for justice. So So both are two interrelated, and there's perhaps a very subtle reason for the beginning with qist and the seconding the statement with the shahada lillah, and whereas in Maida the qawwam, or the establishment of for Allah, and then being witnesses for qist, and we're coming to that inshallah. So establish justice, bear witness for the sake of Allah. وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ, even that may be upon yourselves. Yourselves meaning me. And myself also, those who are very closely connected to me, because sometimes, عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ, on them, their collective, which they have very close contact with another. أو على الوالدين, or upon your parents even. أو الأقربين, or your relatives. Blood relatives, or anyone who's close to you. In other words, here is where usually justice gets compromised. This is one of the areas. One is because we have love and affection and well-wishing and, and so, okay, let it slide. Can you do this for my brother? Can you do this for my father? This is very prevalent in many of the societies that we come from, right? In America, it's a little harder to do, but it happens, but it doesn't happen so blatantly. So one thing is, or one of the two factors that usually alter the course of justice is over, the love and affection that, influences the decision-making process. That could be the witnesses, it could also be the judge. The judge happens to have, some kind of, and therefore we have very stringent rules and regulations for the judges in Islam. They're not allowed to accept a present from anyone unless there had been such kind of relationship previously before he became a judge. One of our great mashayikh, and I personally knew him quite well, Shaykh Abdulaziz bin Baz, the chief mufti of Saudi Arabia, and it was very well known about him that being that although he wasn't actually a judge, a qadi as such, but he was responsible for a lot of various organizations and organs in the society and enforcement of various things. So the Arabs have a custom. Our Arab brothers would know that if you want to give a present to somebody, you put it in your hand and you shake hands, and nobody knows about it. And he was blind, by the way. And so when someone would try and give him something like that, he would throw it on the ground there and then. And so we have the example of our mashayikh, particularly those who have come and have since then gone. But this is the thing. So where there's love and affection, there is perhaps some benefits to be acquired. Here is a great, test for the establishment of justice. The other side of the story is where there's animosity. Get the guy, and that happens a lot too. Maybe that's even more prevalent in some of our societies. So there, in Maida, it deals with that, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمًا, don't let an animosity of a various people or persons or whatever to influence your decision-making in the affair of justice. And in Surah Hadid, a very similar theme is also mentioned, that Allah sent Adam and the prophets and the books to establish this justice. And He's also sent iron, which is a very tough. So if you don't follow justice by your own omission, then there is some external forces that can bend you and bring you to obedience if all else fails. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then mentions إِن يَكُنْ غَنِيًّا وَفَقِيرًا, whether it be yourselves or your parents or your aqrabin or whoever, whether they're rich, whether they're poor, whatever the case may be, don't let any of these external, other elements or conditions influence your decision. فَاللَّهُ أَوْلَى بِهِمَا. Allah is more deserving of them, meaning the justice which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established for all is more befitting for them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has more rights on them than anybody else. And that's much better for them and everybody else as well, to follow that, the injunctions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless of the external conditions of the individual. Look at the case in hand what is justice and what is the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's order there. فَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا الْهَوَىٰ. Don't follow your whims and fancies and your desires and your emotions. All of that comes under this hawa. أَن تَعْدِلُوا. To ta'dilu, literally it says for justice, in other words, for leaning away or moving away and deviating from the path of justice. وَإِن تَلُوا. And if you do, in talu means to sort of swerve along. So if we're not going to go straight on the path, we're kind of swerving, like if it was had one too many on the road. So this is one too many of the love of the world and the acquisition thereof. So someone starts swerving on the path. Or turn away from the path and the injunctions altogether. In such case, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is totally aware of what you're doing. So again, this consciousness of Allah, always, injunctions are always, connected by these two things, the magnanimity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His power over all creation, and the accountability that we all have to account for one day. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq to be among those who practice justice and establish it and live by it and bring that order into the world. Ameen. Thumma ameen. Wa akhir da'wana. And alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum.